Wine is the story of a year, captured in a bottle. Each bottle has a story to tell, a winemaker's passion for a style or varietal, the variations of soil, giving character to the wine. This is different for each region, for each vineyard. All of this meshes together as we create memories of the places we've discovered, the people we've met, the conversations we had. All this is weaved into magical moments and stories to be shared. All of this comes together in the journey of discovering wine country.
I call this my Narnia door.
Narnia door? Ah,
You go in a completely different world. For my father, the most important thing is wine. First the viticulture, the wines, and everything clean. We always say in order to produce 1 liter of wine, you have to invest at least 8 liters of water in cleaning everything. Especially because we clean everything only with steam. We don't use chemical and everything, only steam. So that's take a little bit of water. So this is probably the most technical room that we have, maybe the least romantic. All the stainless steel that we have here, they are double. So there is one down opening here and an up one. So in order to save space, we just seal one on top of each other, basically. And the reason why we had to do this is that, as I mentioned before, we work by blend, not only with the classical method, but also with the still wines. So Rosamara, which is made with 4 red grapes, Groppello Gentile mostly, Marzemino, and a small part of Sangiovese Barbera, they're vinified separately for all the different parcels. Rosamara, for instance, Rosamara 2021 that we will taste today has 22 different selections. Rosamara 2020 had only 17 because we had 3 hailstorms. So obviously we lost a little bit of the production. And of this 22 selection, 30% of them are fermented and aged in old barrels that we will see afterwards, and the rest in stainless steel. So consider the old selection that we have for also the classical method. So that takes space. I think the 2 most important variables in the wine industries are space and time. Without space, you can have all the money that you want, but if you do not have time and space, you cannot go very far away. So as today we work with roughly 100 stainless steel and 620 barrels that we will see afterwards. Why do we work by blend? Working by blend allows us to be coherent and constant with the profile and the quality of our wine. So it's not the idea of having a great Rosamara this year or last year. It's being able to have the same profile for 10, 15, 20 years, but also the quality. I mean, we talk a lot about the quality, but the most important thing is being constant with the quality and also the profile of the wines. If I say the blue Tiffany, I don't even have to describe which kind of blue, or the red Valentino or the blue Armani, or if I have to say the Lamborghini or Ferrari, you already know what I'm talking about. Because even if you take a Ferrari today and a Ferrari of 15 years ago, the models are different, but the style is the same. The hands, the philosophy is the same. It's more complicated in the wine industry because you work with raw materials that they change every year according to the harvest. But the idea is this one. If Krug is there, Petrus is there has to be a reason why. It's not that every year you will just randomly open a bottle and say, let's see what's going to happen this year. Because every year you find your profile. I'm a big fan, for instance, of Paul Roger in Champagne, which is one of the champagne that as today still has and maintains a high level of sugar. 9-10 grams per liter. It's a brut. It's a real classic brut. In a world that is going to the extra brut and non-dosé, he is there. You like it? Great. You don't like it? Great. But this, you are coherent with your profile. I just tasted the Rosé 2015, which is the new vintage. I asked 9 grams per liter. Why it's still so high? Because this is our style. Chapeau. because you don't flex your needs to the market. Because in 10 years they will ask you to have a blue wine or a purple wine, and then we'll see. Instead, coherent. Here we have a small room as well of stainless steel. So we are doing some casters. They are smaller types. So here we have the tonneau. Now they are empty, so they are waiting the new vintage of Molmenti. The tonneau, we always have to buy one basically new tonneau per year because it's very hard to find old tonneau on the market. They're old white oak, and we use them for Molmenti. Why? Probably the most important variable in the wine industry that gives prestige and value to wine is time. You will never spend $100 on a wine that you have to drink in 6 months. And you will never keep in your cellars a bottle that is not meant for aging. So if I want to demonstrate that rosé is a wine first, I have to give them time, because usually it's never been given to rosé. They always ask the new vintage, the fresh one, the young one. Why do I have to use 4 perfectly healthy red grapes to make a wine that lasts a year, maybe, and that you have to drink when it's not raining? It's a little bit limiting, okay? So Molmenti, it's for us an ambassador of our philosophy. It's dedicated to the Venetian senator that started the tradition of Valtènesi in the end of the 1800s. The current vintage of Molmenti is supposed to be 2017, but you will taste a preview of 2018, since unfortunately the 17 we finished. Which means this Molmenti stays for 2 years in tonneau and 3 years in a bottle before going out on the market. Okay, so it's a different approach on rosé. But I can be extremely good in talking, but at the end it's the glass that decides, it's the wine that decides. So that's why my father decided to create Molmenti in 1991. We did vertical of Molmenti, we went down in 2001. 21 years old rosé. It's just because it's a color. If instead of being rosé would be red, would be okay. I mean, great, but still doable. This is for the humidity control, because the barrels, especially now that are empty, they're waiting to be filled, so they're extremely delicate and fragile. Here we have barrels from 2008, so we really keep them. It is from the 80s. We really keep them as much as we can.
Nice.
This is a little bit better. The first fermentation is basically completed for all the barrels. Because I see that basically all the taps are on, so the fermentation probably is just finished, especially for the Valtènesi, the white. So for the rosé, the rosamara, for instance, 6 months, 30% of the blend. But we go through barrel for basically all the wines that we produce except 2. One is 100% Margellino. Margellino is a very fruity grape, so we wanted to maintain the profile, so that's why we preserved it in the stainless steel. And the second wine is called Palma Argentina, which is a dessert wine. So not very fruity. He likes it a lot. It's finished. It's great. It's a great dessert wine because first it's a rosé, but it only has 10 degrees alcohol. So it's extremely light. It's very fresh. That for a dessert wine, it's very low. We go through barrels because it's extremely important, the indirect contact with the oxygen, to basically support and maintain the stability of the wines, especially for rosé. It helps them maintain the color and the profile through the aging. Rosamara can age with no problem for 5 to 6 years. I had an oyster tasting, and I had Rosamara 2019. because it took these few years of aging allowed them to have a little more shoulder, more structure, more chewability, more volume. So with the oyster that are quite fat, it helped a lot. And it's salty because probably if you tasted some Valtènesi, the minerality of our terroir, which is clay and gravelly, you can definitely feel it. So with the oyster, really helped you clean your palates as well. So now I'm hungry. Rosamara 13, Rosamara 11. This is Costa Grande, vintage 2022, 91 hectoliter. Here we are entering in the new part of the winery that we finished in December 2020. And from here on, we enter in the world of the classical method. So all the vinification, it's always been done in the original part of the winery, also the tirage. After the tirage is done, the aging on the yeast, the riddling, and the disgorgement, it's done in here. Okay, we need, as I mentioned, time and space. We needed space. So the riddling is all done by hand. We have roughly 20,000 bottles per time in the riddling room. The non-vintage, the aging is about 3 years on the yeast, whereas the vintage is 60 months. The dots is how we know where we are at in the riddling.
So it's all done by hand?
Yeah. We do the second fermentation in the bottle, also for the special sizes. So the 3 liters, still second fermentation in the bottle, so for the Gela one. And the reserve wine are kept in the 3 liters as well. So the 3 liters de Girofalo are used only also for special sizes, but also as a reserve wine keeper.
This is not normally.
All this fogginess, it's the humidity that we still need in here for the pupitre.
2014.
Yeah, 2 days.
I can't believe this is a lot to do by hand.
2012.
Yeah, that's why I asked if you have any kids to send them.
Right.
We need them. This is the reason why we created this building, because we didn't have enough space on the original winery. So here we have 650,000 bottles resting, since the average age of our wines are around 3.5 years aging on the yeast.